The forest was quiet. Only the sound of night insects and the soft rustle of leaves filled the air. Daniel walked slowly along the narrow path, carrying a small lamp. He had been traveling alone for many days. He wanted silence, he wanted peace. But tonight, something was different. There was a sound, low, broken, almost like a cry. Daniel stopped and listened. Again, the sound came. It was not the sound of any animal he knew. It was weak, frightened, almost human, yet not human. Daniel's heart beat faster. He held his lamp higher, looking through the dark trees. The sound grew louder, pulling him away from the path. He hesitated. He knew it could be dangerous. But his curiosity, and maybe something deeper, pushed him forward. The forest grew thick. Branches scratched his arms, and the ground was wet with mud. Then, suddenly, he saw it. A small clearing. In the middle, half buried in dirt and broken branches, lay a strange object. It was a pod, metallic, round, glowing faintly from cracks in its side. Smoke rose from it. Pieces of metal were scattered around, as if it had crashed from the sky. Daniel's breath caught. He took a step closer. And then, he saw the child. The child was sitting near the broken pod, shaking, holding its arms around its knees. The skin was pale, almost silver, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Its eyes were huge, round, and bright like stars. It looked weak, scared, and hurt. Daniel froze. His mind screamed, this was not possible. This was not human. This was something else. The child lifted its head. For a moment, the two stared at each other. Daniel saw fear in the child's eyes. And then, it spoke. Help, please. The voice was soft, broken, almost like a whisper. The words were simple, but enough to strike Daniel deep inside. His heart twisted. He saw not a monster, not a threat, but a child asking for help. Daniel stepped forward slowly, raising his empty hands to show he meant no harm. I'm not going to hurt you, he whispered. It's okay. The child tried to stand, but stumbled, falling back against the pod. Daniel rushed forward and gently caught it. The child was cold, trembling. Its body was light, almost too light, as if it carried no weight at all. Easy, easy, Daniel said. You're safe now. But then, the night changed. A sound filled the air. A sharp crackling, like static, but louder. Daniel looked up. The sky above shimmered with strange lights. From the broken pod, a beam of blue light shot upward, spreading into the air. And inside the beam appeared a figure. It was a hologram, tall, armored, with a face hidden behind a dark mask. The voice that followed was deep, cold, merciless. Attention! The child has escaped. The target must not survive. For soldiers are on the hunt. Anyone who protects the child will be eliminated. Daniel's blood ran cold. He looked at the child, who was now shaking even harder, its eyes full of terror. The hologram continued. We track the scent. We track the heat. There is no escape. And then, with a final flicker, the hologram disappeared. The forest was dark again. But now, Daniel knew, something was coming. Something deadly. The child clutched his arm. Please, help me. Daniel stood frozen for a moment. He could walk away. He could pretend he never saw any of this. If he stayed, he would face soldiers, alien soldiers, with weapons he could not imagine. He would surely die. But when he looked at the child again, he saw something else. He saw weakness, but also innocence. He saw fear, but also hope. This was not just an alien. This was a life. A life begging him for protection. Daniel took a deep breath. His mind was screaming at him to run. But his heart, stronger than fear, made the choice. He knelt down and whispered, I won't let them take you. Do you understand? You're safe with me. The child's glowing eyes widened. A tear fell down its cheek. Slowly, it nodded. Suddenly, a sound cracked through the forest. branches snapping. Heavy footsteps. Not human footsteps, too heavy, too precise. The soldiers were already close. Daniel quickly lifted the child into his arms. "We have to move," he whispered. He turned away from the clearing and ran into the darkness, his lamp swinging wildly. Behind him, in the shadows, something moved. 4 pairs of glowing eyes lit up, scanning the forest. The hunters had arrived. And thus began the chase. The forest was no longer quiet. Daniel ran fast, holding the alien child close to his chest. His lamp was gone, dropped back in the clearing. Now only the pale moonlight guided his steps. Each breath came heavy, each step loud. But he dared not stop. Behind him, the sounds were growing. Metallic steps, clicking noises, a strange hum like machines alive. The soldiers were close. Daniel forced himself to think. He knew the forest better than any stranger, but these were not strangers from another town. They were soldiers from another world. Their weapons were unknown. Their senses were sharp. If he ran in a straight line, they would catch him in minutes. He slowed his pace and ducked under a fallen log. He set the child down and whispered, "Stay quiet. Don't move." The child nodded, eyes wide, glowing faintly in the dark. Its tiny hands clutched Daniel's sleeve, unwilling to let go. Daniel scanned the ground. Mud. Wet leaves. He had hunted before, long ago, and he remembered the tricks of survival. Quickly, he brushed their footprints with a branch, then led the child into a shallow stream. Cold water bit his legs, but the running water would hide their scent and their heat. They moved slowly, carefully, through the stream. Daniel's heart pounded at every sound. Owls called in the distance, but mixed with those natural sounds was something darker. Mechanical beeps, scanning drones passing overhead, beams of red light slicing through the trees. One beam touched the stream, only meters away. Daniel froze, pulling the child down under a low branch. He held his breath. The drone hovered, scanning, its round eye glowing. For a terrible moment, Daniel thought it had seen them. But then, with a soft hum, it drifted away into the night. The child exhaled shakily. Daniel pressed a finger to his lips. Silence was their only shield. Minutes passed like hours as they followed the stream deeper into the forest. Finally, Daniel pulled the child onto dry land again. The boy, or whatever he was, looked weak. His small chest rose and fell quickly. He was injured, bleeding faintly from his side. Daniel tore a strip from his shirt and tied it around the wound. "You have to stay strong," Daniel whispered. "We can't stop now." The child's voice was faint, broken, but clear. "They are hunters. They kill all." Daniel frowned. "Who are they?" The child shook his head, trembling. "Soldiers. No mercy. If I live, hope lives. If I die, all end." Daniel did not fully understand, but the fear in the child's eyes told him enough. This was no ordinary pursuit. This child was important, maybe far more important than Daniel realized. Suddenly, crack. A branch snapped. Daniel's instincts screamed. He shoved the child behind a tree and crouched low. Through the shadows, a tall figure moved, armor shining, weapon glowing faint blue. One of the soldiers. The soldier moved with precision, scanning the area with a strange device. A low hum filled the air as the scanner passed over bushes, trees, rocks. Daniel held the child close, forcing them both to stay still. The soldier paused, tilting its head. Then, with a slow motion, it raised its weapon. The beam of light crawled across the ground, moving closer, closer. Daniel's mind raced. If he stayed hidden, they would be found. If he moved, they would be killed. He needed a distraction. Quietly, he picked up a rock from the ground. With all his strength, he threw it far to the right. Crash. The rock hit branches, making a loud noise. The soldier instantly turned, weapon aimed, and fired. A burst of blue light tore through the trees, burning them black. Daniel grabbed the child and sprinted in the opposite direction. His lungs burned, But he didn't stop. Behind him, the soldier roared in a strange, metallic voice. Soon, more voices answered. The hunters knew where he was now. The chase grew faster, louder. Plasma shots ripped through trees around him. Sparks flew. The forest lit up with flashes of blue fire. Daniel zigzagged, ducking under branches, sliding down muddy slopes, always keeping the child close. But the soldiers were relentless. 4 of them, moving like shadows, weapons glowing, closing the distance. Daniel's mind worked fast. He spotted a narrow ravine ahead, sharp rocks at the bottom. An idea sparked. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small survival knife, the only weapon he had. Not enough to fight, but enough to use the forest itself. He found a fallen branch, heavy and long. With quick movements, he balanced it across the edge of the ravine, setting it like a trap. Then, holding the child's hand, he ran across it. The branch bent but held under their weight. Behind them, the soldiers charged. The first one stepped onto the branch. Too heavy, too fast. The wood cracked. With a thunderous sound, it snapped in half, sending the armored soldier crashing into the ravine below. The others paused, watching their comrade fall. Their glowing eyes burned with fury. One raised a fist and shouted in a harsh alien language. Daniel didn't wait to hear more. He pulled the child deeper into the forest. His legs ached, his body screamed for rest, but he forced himself onward. For every step he took, the soldiers took 3. For every breath he gasped, they were still steady, still hunting. But Daniel had one advantage: he knew how to survive. He had lived in these woods, he had hunted in these woods. And he would use every trick the earth could give him. The night grew darker, colder. The child leaned against him, whispering, "They never stop." Daniel whispered back, "Then neither will I." But deep inside, he wondered how long he could keep his promise. Far behind them, 3 soldiers regrouped. Their leader raised his weapon and pointed forward. A voice like iron growled, "The human delays us. The human is dangerous. Kill him first. The child will follow." And with that, the hunt continued. The night dragged on, but the hunters did not slow. Daniel pushed forward, every muscle burning, carrying the alien child through twisting paths of the forest. His shirt was torn, his arms covered in scratches, but he kept moving. Behind him, the 3 soldiers spread out like wolves, their glowing eyes cutting through the dark. Every time Daniel thought he had escaped, he heard them again. The crunch of armored boots, the low hum of their scanners, the sharp crack of branches breaking. They were not human. They did not tire. But Daniel knew one thing. He was human. And humans were clever. He reached a rocky hillside where the trees grew thin. The moonlight lit up jagged stones and broken roots. Here, the terrain was dangerous, even for him. For soldiers in heavy armor? Even more so. "Stay low," Daniel whispered to the child. He found a narrow cave between 2 boulders and pushed the boy inside. "Stay here. Don't make a sound. No matter what happens." The child's glowing eyes stared at him, worried. "They strong. You are not." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe. But I know how to fight dirty." He picked up his survival knife, the only weapon he had. Then he began to move, searching the ground for stones, branches, anything he could turn into a trap. His mind raced back to old memories, his grandfather teaching him snares, his father showing him how to hunt deer in the woods. Now those lessons might save his life. Minutes later, the forest shook. The soldiers had arrived. The first one stepped onto the rocks, its armor gleaming under the moonlight. It scanned with a blue beam that crawled across the ground. Daniel crouched behind a boulder, heart pounding, waiting. When the soldier passed, Daniel pushed a loose rock with all his strength. The stone rolled down the hill, faster and faster, until it slammed into the soldier's legs. The alien stumbled, arms flailing. Before it could recover, Daniel leapt out with his knife, slashing at the gaps in the armor. Sparks flew. The alien roared, swinging its massive arm. Daniel dodged. Barely. The alien's strike smashed into the boulder, cracking it. Dust and stone exploded in the air. Daniel rolled, stabbing again. This time, the blade dug into a weak spot. The soldier screamed, its body shuddering as strange blue liquid sprayed out. With a final jerk, it collapsed, sliding down the hill into the dark. Daniel stood panting, knife shaking in his hand. 1 down. 2 to go. From the shadows above, the leader's voice echoed. Impressive. For a human. Daniel looked up. The leader and the second soldier stood together on the ridge, watching. Their glowing eyes burned with anger, but also respect. You are dangerous, the leader said. That makes you priority. We will end you first. The child can wait. Daniel wiped the blood, if it was blood, off his knife. You can try. The second soldier charged. Faster, stronger than the first. Its blade-like weapon cut through the air, humming with energy. Daniel dodged behind rocks, using the uneven ground to slow the alien's movement. The soldier swung again, carving a deep scar into the stone. Daniel's mind worked fast. He grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it into the alien's glowing eyes. The soldier roared, blinded for a moment. Daniel lunged, driving his knife into the joint of its arm. Sparks flew. The alien swung wildly, smashing into rocks, tearing the ground apart. Daniel barely escaped each strike, his body screaming in pain, but his focus never broke. With one final push, he shoved the alien backward. It stumbled, then lost its footing on the loose rocks. With a thunderous crash, it fell down the slope, armor sparking as it tumbled into the darkness. Silence. Daniel collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Sweat dripped down his face, mixing with dirt and blood. His knife was cracked, nearly broken, but he still held it tight. Only one remained, the leader. The leader walked slowly down the hill, calm, controlled. Unlike the others, it did not rush. Its voice was steady, cold. You fight with nothing. Rocks, dirt, a knife. And yet, you killed my soldiers. Daniel forced himself to stand, even as his legs trembled. That's the thing about humans, he said through heavy breaths. We don't give up, even when we should. The leader tilted its head. That is why you are dangerous. Your kind should never leave this world. Too clever, too stubborn. It raised its weapon, a massive blade glowing with deadly light. But before it could strike, a small sound broke the silence. The alien child stepped out of the cave, trembling but brave. Its eyes glowed brighter than before. Stop! The child cried, its voice sharp, echoing. For the first time, the leader paused. Daniel shouted, Get back! But the child shook its head. The leader lowered its weapon slightly, studying the child. So it is true. You are not just a child. You are heir. If you live, your people will rise again. That cannot happen. The child's eyes filled with tears, but it stood firm. He protect me. Human protect me. You, afraid of him. The leader snarled, voice turning harsh. Afraid. No. But we respect. This is why he must die first. Daniel tightened his grip on the knife, even though he knew it was useless against such power. He glanced at the child, then back at the alien leader. If you want him, Daniel said, voice low but steady, you'll have to go through me. The leader's weapon glowed brighter. Then so be it. And in the dark forest, the final battle between human spirit and alien power began. The forest opened into a wide clearing. Moonlight poured down over broken stone walls, rusted metal towers, and the remains of a forgotten base. Long ago, humans had built it, but now it stood abandoned, half-eaten by vines, silent like a grave. Daniel staggered inside, dragging the alien child with him. His body was covered in cuts and bruises. Every step felt heavier, every breath sharper. But he did not stop. The soldiers were still behind them. The child looked around with wide glowing eyes. What is this place? An old bunker, Daniel whispered. His voice was rough, weak. Maybe from the last war. Long forgotten. But maybe it can still help us. The walls of the bunker rose around them, giving cover. Daniel searched quickly. Most of the weapons were rusted, broken. But among the debris, he found a few things still alive. An old shotgun, cracked but loaded, a box of grenades, dusty but sealed, and wires hanging from the ceiling, sparking faintly. He set the child down behind a broken wall. Stay hidden. No matter what happens, don't come out. The child grabbed his arm. You hurt. You can't fight them all. Daniel gave a tired smile. Maybe not. But I don't need to win. I just need to keep you alive. The sound came then. Heavy boots crushing stone. A deep hum filling the air. The soldiers had arrived. 3 glowing figures appeared at the edge of the ruins. The leader stood in front, tall and calm, weapon blazing with light. The other 2 spread wide, cutting off escape. The leader's voice echoed. Human, you killed 2 of mine. You bleed, yet you still stand. That is unusual. Daniel lifted the shotgun. His hands trembled, but his eyes stayed firm. You should have stayed in the stars. This is Earth. My ground. The leader tilted its head. Then you will die on your ground. The battle exploded. The first soldier charged, plasma weapon firing bolts of blue fire. Daniel dove behind a wall, firing the shotgun. The blast echoed through the ruins, tearing into the alien's chest. Sparks burst. The soldier roared, staggering but still alive. Daniel grabbed a grenade, pulled the pin, and threw it. The explosion shook the ruins, flames lighting the night. The alien screamed as its armor cracked and burned. When the smoke cleared, its body lay still. 1 down. The second soldier leapt from the shadows, blade swinging. Daniel barely raised his shotgun before the weapon sliced it in half. Sparks flew from the broken gun. Daniel fell back, rolling across the ground. He pulled a rusted metal pipe from the rubble and swung it with all his strength. The strike hit the alien's helmet, cracking it. The alien grabbed him, lifting him into the air with inhuman strength. Daniel kicked wildly, pulling his knife from his belt. With a desperate thrust, he stabbed it into the soldier's neck joint. The alien screeched, dropping him. Daniel hit the ground hard but didn't stop. He pushed the blade deeper. Blue liquid sprayed. The soldier shuddered, then collapsed, dragging Daniel down with it. He crawled out, coughing, covered in dirt and blood. 2 down. The leader stepped forward, calm, almost amused. Remarkable. Truly. You kill with scraps. You survive with nothing. This is why humans are dangerous. Daniel forced himself to stand. His body screamed to quit, but his eyes never left the leader. You're right, he said. We survive. That's what we do. The leader raised its glowing blade. Then survive this. The duel began. The leader struck fast, blade slicing through the air, each swing powerful enough to cut stone. Daniel dodged, ducked, using the ruins as cover. He grabbed a loose wire from the wall and yanked. Sparks flew. When the leader passed, Daniel pressed the live wire against its armor. Electricity surged, crackling across the metal. The alien roared, shaking violently, but it did not fall. With a swift motion, it kicked Daniel across the room. He slammed into the wall, vision blurring. The child cried out from its hiding place, "Daniel!" The leader turned its glowing eyes toward the sound. Slowly, it walked toward the wall where the child hid. Daniel struggled to rise. His ribs ached, his vision spun. But when he saw the leader reaching for the child, something inside him burned hotter than pain. With a roar, he grabbed one last grenade from the floor. He pulled the pin, charged forward, and tackled the alien leader with all his strength. The two crashed into the center of the ruins. The grenade fell between them, beeping loudly. The leader snarled, trying to push him off. Foolish human. You will die too. Daniel gritted his teeth, holding on tight. Then I die human, protecting what matters. The grenade exploded. Flames consumed the ruins. The ground shook. The child screamed, covering its face as the blast tore through stone and steel. When the fire faded, the ruins lay in silence. Smoke curled into the night sky. From the rubble, something moved. The child crawled out, trembling, eyes wide with fear and sorrow. Daniel. At first, there was nothing. Then, slowly, a figure rose from the smoke. Burned, bleeding, but alive, Daniel stood. His body swayed, but his eyes still burned with fire. The alien leader lay broken, armor shattered, glowing eyes dim. It tried to rise, but Daniel lifted the broken pipe and drove it down with all his strength. The leader gave one final sound, a hiss, a growl, and then, silence. The child ran to Daniel, tears shining. You live, you win. Daniel dropped the pipe and fell to his knees. He looked at the child, managed a tired smile, and whispered, Not yet. But we're close. The ruins were quiet again, but Daniel knew it was not over. Somewhere, out in the dark sky, more soldiers might come. And if they did, he would have to stand again. But for now, the child was safe. The ruins were quiet now. Smoke rose in thin, gray streams, curling into the night sky. The forest beyond was still, but Daniel did not relax. He knew the hunt was not over. Somewhere, other soldiers might be coming. Somewhere, the galaxy was still watching. The alien child, trembling, came close. Its glowing eyes scanned Daniel's battered, bleeding body. You live. You a human. Daniel managed a small smile. Yeah, he whispered, voice weak. And I'm not done yet. The child stepped closer, looking at him with a mixture of awe and fear. They, strongest. You, only human. You fight, like God. Daniel chuckled softly, though his body ached. Not a god. Just stubborn. A sudden hum broke the silence. Daniel froze. From the dark tree lean, a single figure emerged. Taller than any man, armored, weapon raised, another alien soldier. But something was different. Its posture was hesitant. Its glowing eyes flickered, uncertain. Daniel stepped in front of the child. Leave. Go back. You don't want this fight. The soldier lowered its weapon slightly. Its voice was strange, almost curious. You survive. One human, against 4. You, clever. You, dangerous. Daniel's voice grew stronger. We're stronger than you think. Human spirit never dies. That's why your kind loses. The soldier looked at the child. He protects you. Human, strange. Why? Daniel said, quietly, because protecting the weak is what humans do. The alien stared for a moment, then turned. Slowly, deliberately, it retreated into the forest. It was gone, leaving only silence behind. The child stared at Daniel. They, afraid. You, alive. Daniel patted the child's shoulder. Yeah. But we can't stay here. They'll come back. The child looked up at the stars. I home. Must go. People, wait. Daniel nodded. He helped the child to its feet. Together, they walked toward the clearing where the small alien ship had crashed. The ship's metal was scorched, smoke rising from cracks, but its engines still glowed faintly. The child ran ahead, touching the ship's surface. Lights flickered on. The ship's engines hummed, ready to fly. I can't leave you, the child said softly. You, save me. Human, friend. Daniel shook his head. You need to go home. Your people need you. That's more important than me. The child's eyes glowed brighter. You, strong. Brave. Human, legend. Daniel smiled, exhausted. Just a human. That's all. The child climbed aboard the ship. The hatch closed slowly, sealing the human and alien worlds apart. Daniel stood there, watching. Moonlight reflected on his battered body. Smoke curled around him. The forest was silent, save for the distant chirping of insects. The ship lifted slowly. Its engines glowed brighter, humming with power. Then, with a soft roar, it rose into the night sky. The child waved from the small viewport. "Remember, humans. We remember." Daniel waved back, tears stinging his eyes. "I'll remember too." The ship disappeared into the stars. Daniel sank to the ground, breathing heavily. Every muscle screamed, every bone ached. But inside, he felt pride. Not because he had fought, not because he had won, but because he had protected someone who could change the galaxy. He looked up at the sky, at the countless stars stretching into the unknown. Somewhere out there, humans were no longer just survivors. Somewhere out there, humans were legends. A faint smile appeared on Daniel's face. "Maybe," he whispered. "This is just the beginning." He stood slowly, feeling the wind on his face, the quiet of the night around him. The ruins were empty now, the forest calm. But Daniel knew he had changed something forever. The child's people would live. And humans? Humans had proved that courage, intelligence, and heart were stronger than even the most advanced alien power. For the first time in weeks, Daniel felt hope. He had faced monsters, survived impossible odds, and still walked forward. The human spirit had triumphed. And in the quiet night, with stars shining above, Daniel knew one thing clearly. The universe had just begun to notice humans. Somewhere in the dark, far across the galaxy, whispers would spread. Stories of a human who saved an alien child. A human who fought 4 deadly soldiers and lived. A human who proved that no matter how small, how weak, how ordinary, humans could rise to legends. Daniel looked at the forest one last time, then turned and walked away. The battle was over. But the story had only begun.